Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jaobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello, this is Richard Jaobs with Future Tech Podcast. Today my guest is Barry Spielman from Sixgill, and we're going to be talking about protection for companies against dark web issues. Barry, how you doing?
Great, thank you. Appreciate being here.
Yeah. So, would you give listeners, it sounds very intriguing what you do. Would you give listeners like an overview of what your company does?
Sure. It is very intriguing, and it's actually fascinating to work at a company like this, especially days like today when cybersecurity is at the top of everyone's mind. Our company specifically deals with the dark web. Isn't necessarily the focus of what's happening today in this big news thing, but it is a scary place where a lot of scary things are happening, and more and more folks are becoming aware of the need to know what's going on there and to develop a threat intelligence picture of what's going on the dark web to be able to protect their organizations in the best way, to complement other cybersecurity measures that they may already have in place. So our company, its value proposition in a nutshell, we can delve into it a little bit more, but in a nutshell, we automatically, and I'm putting a focus on the word automatically, because to do this kind of things in a mindful way is very difficult. We automatically monitor the dark web. We will extract information from the dark web. We could talk about how the dark web is built, but in terms of its forums, its marketplaces, and analyze that data in such a way that we could provide an intelligence picture. And I think we're unique in that we put the focus on the social behavior of the threat actor. We believe strongly that the dark web is a social network, just like any social network out there. Therefore, you understand the modus operandi of the threat actor, how he operates, what hours he's active, talking to, how people reply to him, if it's using the same name or a different name, but it's the same guy in different forums or marketplaces. We just present this kind of a social picture based on the analysis that we can do of the information. Then this allows folks for who this tool is meant for to have a better understanding of the threat and be able to take actions to better defend themselves.
Yeah, so I would think companies that you deal with, why would they care about the dark web? They're not. Most companies are selling normal products, and I would think they would think, what does the dark web have to do with me? We're not pornographers. We're not, doing terrible things. Why do they care?
Well, I think that to a very large degree, our solution is meant for those people who either understand or are beginning to understand the importance of the dark web. And the dark web, the dark web it wasn't always a bad word. Strangely enough, one of the cool things that you learn about the dark web when you start getting involved with it is set up by the U.S. The Tor browser, which allows you to be on the dark web, is set up by the U.S. Navy as a means of allowing dissidents to be able to speak anonymously outside their countries. But like a lot of the good things in life, it's been overtaken by folks with less noble causes, and it's not just pornography; it's everything. You can't believe it, what's out there. And, when I see this stuff, it's very scary. People selling weapons, people selling drugs, people dealing pornography that you mentioned, and a whole host of other things. And it's run in an extremely professional way. The dark web is set up in such a way that you have administrators and people dealing with blacklists, and you have guys taking escrow so that if you want to make a deal on the dark web, you will, you put money in safe hands because there's no honor for thieves. It's all sorts of things, and these forums and marketplaces look like eBay with ratings for vendors. I'm a marketing guy, and when if you're on the dark web in some of these places, if you do a good job and you're honest and if you have a good record, then you can advertise at higher places on the forum or in the marketplace.
It's funny. So you're saying on the dark web, there's websites where criminals have reputations. And it's kind of, I guess it's an irony, you can be someone that's selling, illegal stuff, but have a great reputation for doing it, and therefore get a lot of customers, right?
That's exactly right. The higher your reputation, the more you're going to get trusted. And the opposite's true. I mean, you'll see a lot we have so many examples where you see it that people are called out for being scammers. Not everyone is out to fraud, other people. Sometimes you're out to scam the people in the same, inside the forum or inside the market. And they can be called out and they get blacklisted. There's real rules. I mean, I was reading articles not long ago, and I think we were actually quoted in a paper. Our CEO was quoted in a paper about this, that there's a talent shortage on the dark web in the same way that there's perhaps a talent shortage in cybersecurity companies. Both the legitimate and the non-legitimate are looking for highly talented people because they are also running it in an extremely professional way. And that's actually scary because, they're able to always, cybersecurity folks have to always try to stay in sync with their progress because, you sort of have and it's an interesting concept, you sort of have a crowdsourcing of bad guys, people together inside a greenhouse type of environment. They're all hidden anonymously behind it. And when you take a pool of talent of people who are creative and professional in many ways, and they're all working together in the same kind of a place, well, the sum of that creativity might be larger than a single person. So they are keeping ahead of our ways of, and we have to keep ahead of them too. So there's this rat race out there, but you've got to take these people seriously. They know what they're doing. They're professional, and they're very good. So that in itself, I think, is a reason for folks to become more aware of what's going on in the dark web, and especially if those kind of things might be affecting or impacting an organization. And more, I think large financial institutions, certainly law enforcement, intelligence, they know this well, but larger financial institutions as well, but it could be in health, and it also could be in education. Just the other day, there was reports of tens of thousands of names of students and records of people at the University of Maryland were now for sale on the dark web. And this stuff is happening all the time. So it's something that the awareness is growing.
Okay, so what are some specific examples of what you do for clients?
Okay, so when we, basically, again, maybe I'll take a second just to explain how it actually works, and then I'll give you a couple of concrete examples of how this can be very, very useful. So basically, our technology, we had to develop technology that would, first of all, be able to go out and monitor the dark web, call it hidden service locators, to be able to find those places automatically that are relevant where this activity is taking place. We also, our company, to a very large degree, is built on people who come from the intelligence background in the military and defense circles where we're coming from, and they have this experience. And so together with the automatic tool, they're able to find out where we need to be. So over the time that we've been in operation, we've entered hundreds of. Now, the second part of that is you need to get in. So here, the analysts themselves have an advantage because they've done this before and they know how to get in. But getting in isn't as difficult as it sounds, but you still need to have a technology that allows you to get in. But once we're inside, then we're able to extract all the information that's inside those forums and those marketplaces. Everything, including from the day it was founded. So if tomorrow, for example, it closes, which happens often, as long as we're there, all of that information still exists. And that is helpful because, as I will show in a concrete example, sometimes a threat actor will use a name in one forum and then a different name in another forum, but it's the same person. But we're able to figure out, or the systems, we're able to figure out it's the same guy. So if say you've been tracking someone from 2015 in forum X, but it's the same guy who was active in a different marketplace in 2013, well, now you can go back and get information from several years, even earlier than that. But so we extract all this information to a huge database. And then the big trick is, what do you do with the database? So the database here, that's where we start putting big data analytics and machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, all the buzzwords that you could think of, but automatically, so that we are analyzing the data so that we can turn it into intelligence. There's a big difference between, just data information and intelligence. We could dump it on the customers, but that's not really effective. Our way of thinking is that we are going to look at the dark web like a social network and therefore analyze it for behavioral point of view, all of the different activities, show who's connected to who, what time they're talking, what time they're posting, who's answering them, and develop confidence levels that it's the same exact guy in different forms, all of this, and put this picture that we're able to provide to our clients so that it presents it in a way that it's useful. I could give you a couple of examples of things that are concrete that have happened over the last few months. That in many ways.
Before you give me the examples, without naming them, what industries are the clients in? Is it government? Why would a corporation, for instance, care about this info? Or the government, I could see fine if they want to make an arrest, if they want to stop a bad actor in an industry. But, what are examples of, again, give me some concrete examples, use cases.
Yeah, that's a good question. The main industries that we've been focused on, at least since we've been around, are the financial world, mostly banks and insurance companies, and law enforcement and intelligence agencies on the other hand. The platform could easily work for, like I said, for health, where health companies where records of patients are also being sold, and you see it, or education, where the latest example from University of Maryland I gave before. But for the most part, we've been focused on financial and government. Government, like you said, is clear. In law enforcement, or intelligence agencies, they have streams of information coming from a lot of different sources. I used to work for other companies that dealt in lawful interception kind of things, and a fusion of information coming from a variety of sources. Well, the dark web is another stream of information that is now becoming increasingly important for law enforcement to have part of the larger picture, and therefore they can cross-reference, find here, and that's something that's clear, needful. On the financial side, you talk about large banks. Well, these folks are interested in knowing if credit cards have been stolen, if they're out there. And I don't know if you've heard of the word. This is one of the things that shocked me. If you've heard of the word Fulz, F-U-L-Z, Fulz. Fulz is a slang term. For the laughs.
For the laughs, right?
Sorry?
For doing it for the lulz, for the laughs, right? For the fun of it?
It's a slang term on the dark web for basically all the information of a person. A credit card number, the 3 numbers, the CSV number on the back, the date of expiration, the address, the phone number, sometimes a social security card number, and also the security questions like, who was your first pet, or what school did you go to when you were. And if you have that information, you can run somebody's life. You could ruin somebody's life. You could buy a house. You know what I'm saying? And you will see on the dark web in certain places that they post. First of all, they'll post some of them as examples, not with full information, because they want to entice people to be able to buy it. Or they'll say how much they want to sell it for, whatever. This Fulz comes up. That should be of concern to banks, and it is. And you'll find dumped credit card numbers, and they want to be able to tell. And I can give you a concrete example that we work with one of the largest banks in the United States. I can't give you the name, but trust me, it's one of the largest banks in the United States. And what they asked us to do, like we do with many customers, is to create alerts around keywords of interest to them. And it could be IP addresses, it could be names of executives, it could be domain names, it could be threat actors if they know them, and it could be literally anything you can imagine. You put it into the system, and if it comes up, an alert comes up that's referenced to that, you get it in real time. So 3 things that we were able to find that were relevant to them that they were able to stop was, one, we found a what we call a spear phishing, in which they were specifically targeting certain people in the bank with a phishing scam, like the one with Google this week, where you get an email from someone and you shouldn't be clicking on the link, but you do anyway because you know the guy, and then it's too late. So that was specifically targeting people, specific names in the bank with this thing. The second thing we found was a bunch of credit cards from the bank that had the numbers, and we were able to provide that to them as well. And we also found a discussion by someone who wanted to attack a server of this specific bank. So, you don't always get lucky like that. We're dealing in intelligence, and intelligence like it is intelligence. Sometimes you get lucky, you get the right call, or you have the right person in the right place, or you're able to intercept the right conversation. And sometimes you connect the dots. Sometimes you need this link, take that link to take you to another link, and then 3 weeks later something else. You know what I'm saying? And the tool in general is meant for people like that, for investigators, or for analysts who work for banks, or who work for insurance companies, or who work in law enforcement, who know how to analyze the information. And that's important to keep in mind, who our target audience really is. But, those are concrete examples. If we have time and you want to hear another, I'll give you another few, but I think that illustrates the point.
Yeah, I think specific examples are probably the best. Well, so what can you do? Like this first bank example, where they're targeting these executives with a phishing attack. I guess you let the people know, hey, you're being targeted, but how do you put a stop to something like that? Or if someone's ID is stolen and on the dark web, what can you do about it?
Okay. Well, look, you got to be honest that you can't always put a stop to it, but you could. If you find it in real time or early, prevent it before it happens. And if you don't, then at least you know it's happened and it's out there. It's out there happening as you speak. In other words, once within a very short period of time, when information is leaked or credit cards are stolen, with the statistics show, I think that within a very, very short period of time, it's going to be up for sale on the dark web. And therefore, if you see it there, you have alerts, you'll be able to catch it right away, and then you can take action. You might not be able to stop it before they steal it, but you might be able to cut the damage because it will come up very, very quickly. But beyond that, the important thing here is to try to have a good picture of the intelligence threat or the threat to the organization by monitoring the dark web in those places that are most relevant to you. We have a very, very good coverage of most of the forums and marketplaces that are really the ones that are relevant and active. But sometimes when we work with new customers, the first thing we will do with them, and this goes, I think, really to your question, the first thing that we're going to do with them is we're going to find out if there's other places that we need to be, if there's other perhaps marketplaces or forums or chat rooms or whatever that we haven't been up until now that are more focused perhaps geographically if we work with a country, for example, that there might be more local places. That's number one. And number two, and if we need to get in, we'll go into those places as well and start extracting the information. And like I said, once we're in, we extract everything from the day it was founded. Okay, and this all adds to the existing database which already is out there. So every customer always gets the benefit of everything that already exists, and it's sort of become, exponential kind of thing. It keeps growing, and it's updated all the time. Plus any new places that you might go in as part of the relationship. And the second thing that you do is you'll set up that alert system based on those things or keywords that are of interest specifically to the organization. And they differ from organization to organization, even though there are certain things which are probably similar, like names of people or IP addresses, domain names of websites, or whatever it might be. And in this way, they can keep track if on those dark websites the documents are leaked or the credit cards are there or anything else that might be relevant to them, the name of a person comes up, then you have that picture that allows you to take additional steps. This in itself is not a total cybersecurity solution. It should never be looked that way. The perimeter defenses that exist are important. But I think that what's been seen over time is that they're not enough. Just the example of the WannaCry hacking, or if you go to the Yahoo hacks or the Home Depot hacks or whatever, with Ashley Madison, these things are increasing, especially in the last couple of years. So our vision here is really, to move from, you started with perimeter security and firewalls, and you moved to antivirus, and now we've moved to what we call an active defense, and that's where we're playing. We're playing in the part that's the active defense, which is to create the intelligence picture, which will then be able to assist or complement the other aspects of an organization's cybersecurity arsenal.
So all right, so you have this intelligence picture, but what do you do for companies? They can see what's going on. Are they just paralyzed with fear and despair when they see it, or does this lead to them changing their policies so it doesn't happen again? Or can they sometimes contact law enforcement and say, hey, look what happened. Our people's information's leaked. Here it is. Go get the people. Can you take action, or really you can only, fix things for the next time?
Well, it depends, first of all. I think that all of what you said could potentially be part of the answer. In the example of the major bank that I talked before, they were able to take that information and literally stop the stuff from happening in advance. That was a concrete example. In other examples, they might change the way they They might add additional kinds of security systems that prevent those kind of things from happening again. I think from our point of view, our goal is to provide that picture to those people who are in charge of this so that they can make those decisions. But without it, it kind of is, at least in terms of the dark web again. We're a niche company in the sense that we're focused on the dark web, even though I'll say that we are following things that aren't necessarily dark web. For example, we started following Telegram a few months ago, and Telegram is not a dark web per se, but it is very well encrypted. It's a safe place. And so, for example, ISIS and their followers have been moving en masse to Telegram from other things like Twitter or Messenger because it's safer and it's more encrypted. And they're posting.
Yeah, give listeners a quick overview of what Telegram is, and tell me what you can do on Telegram because it's encrypted.
Well, if we follow Telegram like we follow the other sites on the dark web, we're following hundreds and hundreds of conversations or channels they call, and our analyst language speaks Arabic, is able to learn who these players are. Sometimes when you're in a channel, you'll be sent to some other place because they'll open a new channel. Basically, we're able to extract all this information as well, do the same searches on this. And what we've seen over the last few months is activity specifically on increasing on what they call unmanned aerial vehicles. They're showing video clips of how they're attacking certain vehicles in Iraq and in Syria. They have all of a sudden military commentators from around the different ISIS provinces, as they're called, explaining how they could use these unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, put chemical weapons on it, or all sorts of other ideas. They have video clips and showing how to make homemade UAVs, all sorts of you can't imagine and this is being out there. And this is on Telegram. So this stuff is also being accumulated, and it could be cross-referenced with law enforcement or intelligence agencies may have other sources, obviously, not just this, and this kind of stuff could be cross-referenced, and they could follow these people and hopefully lead to catching these folks before they do what they do. But I mean, it's all part of the intelligence picture. There's no, one press a button and you have a solution. Intelligence is right. You live it. Yeah.
That's fascinating. You're able, in some cases, to determine that even though someone may use different usernames, that it's the same person. How are you doing that? Is it because of their behavior or what they say, or what have you noticed about certain people, individuals? Yeah. Do they tend to act the same across different apps?
Okay. So that's a great question, and I think it's one of the strongest points of our platform. And I wish I could show it to you live on a demo. And of course, if your listeners are interested, they can always contact me. I'd be happy to show them these things. But we track the threat actors, and as because it's massive amounts of data, and it's being analyzed all the time by all these algorithms, which I said are basically based on social behavioral things, based on activity. In other words, when they post, what hours they're posting, how much they're posting, who's answering them, how they're responding, type of language. There's a lot of things that go into the algorithms themselves. But we have a threat actor page, and the first thing that you see on the threat actor page is that they'll tell you have a reputation score. The reputation score is put together by the system itself, by our system, and it's from 1 to 10. And the higher the number, it says the more of an actor or more of a player he is. If it's a 9, he's a serious player. 2, he's probably not the most important guy. But then you have under that different names. So if the only thing, say this guy is active in various different forums and he's using the same name, or the same, and I don't mean family name. I mean, I'm talking about whatever username he's using, which is usually, a nickname or something, whatever it is. But if it's the same exact thing, that doesn't necessarily prove anything. And if all it has is that it's the name is the same in different forms, it'll give you a confidence level of 50%, which is, 50-50 shot. But in many, many, many cases, it'll come back and it'll say this is a 90% or a 95%. When that happens, then the system is that much convinced that we're talking about the same guy. And I have a lot of examples of folks that we found in various different places, either with the same name or even a different name, absolutely a different name. They were able to figure out, the system was able to figure out that it's the same guy. Now, once you know it's the same guy, well, then you can drill down and go back and start tracking the other place that he's in. And you'll see that they're in touch with similar types of people. We have the visual link analysis there, which obviously is not something we invented, but it's a very, very useful tool in which you're going to see the threat actor and who he's in touch with. And so it'll show you the different lines of people he's in touch with. The thicker the line, the more he's in touch. The larger the circle in this particular case, well, that means he's more of a serious. The reputation score is higher. And the lighter the circle, that means he's more active. And you look at the picture, and you get a big picture of who he's in touch with, and then you could click on any of these other people and drill down on them. And so you move from one guy to the next. And like I said, if you know that the same actor is involved in different places, then you have all of those different forms that you could go in now and start adding to your research or adding to your investigation. And, sometimes, like in the case of one particular guy who was called out by other people in the network that he's a scammer, it comes across. So and sometimes you're even able to get an address, like a Jabber address, and then you're able to track him down. In one case, we were able to figure out a picture of the guy. That doesn't happen very often, but we have examples that it happened. But it's all made possible by the fact that you're analyzing such a vast amount of information in so many different places, and through these algorithms, we're able to create the confidence level that you're talking about the same people. I think it's very cool.
Okay. Well, all right. I don't know if we have really much more time. So what I'll do for listeners now is, the whole goal here is to make people aware that they need technology like this if they run any sizable organization. So what are the best ways for people to get in contact with Sixgill and with you and to go through this demo that you talked about and see the power of the platform? And if they have a need that you can help with.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'd love to be in touch with folks who think that there is that they would like to see the system. They think could be a possible match for what they're doing. You could certainly reach out. You go on our website, first of all, www.cybersecurity.com, and you could see, you could learn a little bit about the system. We've got a lot of media attention over the last few months. We've discovered, we didn't talk about, but we discovered malware on Russian cyber crime sites. That's very much but there's over there you could contact, ask to request a demo, or contact us, or you can write me directly at Barry, BARRY, @cybersecurity.com, and I'd be happy to get in touch with you, and we could discuss, and certainly be happy to share what we do, and hopefully it would be relevant.
Okay, well, very good. Barry, I appreciate you taking the time and doing the podcast, so thank you so much.
Well, Richard, I appreciate being with you today, and thanks for the opportunity.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jaobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.